Welcome back to the podcast, everybody. Episode number 3 of Adepting to Change. I'm your host, Alex McMahon, and I'm joined once again by the dynamic Lancastrian duo that is Nick and Alan. Gents, scale 1 to 10, how are we doing today?
All good. Good 8, 9?
8 or 9, that's quite high.
Well,
I'd have been 5, 6 maybe.
That's because you're sort of negative,
Yeah,
positive.
I am glass half empty.
And today, as you can see, is a very, very special edition of the podcast because it is the first day where we are video as well. So we'll hit the link in the description on the audio podcast where you'll be able to head over to YouTube and you can now watch us. So it's not only a treat for the ears, but for the eyes as well.
I apologise right now.
Yeah, I think a treat is a strong word.
Yeah, a little bit. So before we dive into what we're going to talk about today, I think it'd be good to start off with a bit of a recap on episodes 1 and 2, which have now been live when this comes to air for a few weeks now. I think overall, whilst we are very much in every sense of the word an amateur group at doing this, I think they've gone down really well. I think the feedback that we've had from people reaching out, whether that's industry or friends and family, my mum excluded from that list, has been really...
Why was that?
Let's not go into that. That's a bit of a sore subject. But no, the feedback's been great. I think Paul, who was a guest on episode 2, came across really well. Lots of 5-star reviews. There was a brief period, though, where we had one star review on Spotify, and then that, for some weird reason, either disappeared or someone changed it. I don't know if that was someone maybe disgruntled who wasn't too keen on it.
Or an accident. Someone might.
Yeah, so it doesn't.
Maybe. Because it has disappeared and we are at 5 stars. So if people haven't already, get onto Apple Podcasts, Podbean, or onto Spotify, leave us a 5-star review. And as well with the YouTube, we'll pop a link in the description, but head over there, give the channel subscribe, give this video a like, and hit the notification bell so you don't miss any future episodes. So quite a lot's happened for us in the preceding weeks since we were last together recording, which we'll go into. Al, firstly, wouldn't mind touching on the incredible story that came out of Warrington bus station a few weeks ago.
Yeah. So obviously we picked up a new contract. I think it was probably June, July last year. Warrington Bus Interchange, quite a good contract to pick up. We provide security up till 11 o'clock every night, Monday through to Sunday. And this particular case, going back probably about 2 weeks ago now, we had an incident on site where a gentleman was sat on a bench and unfortunately we found out later suffered quite a major heart attack and fell back on the floor, banging the head as well. And the 2 officers, Mark and Thomas, were on duty, customer support officers, and they rushed to the immediate assistance of this individual. And they contacted the police. They did absolutely everything right, and it was documented on CCTV. The customer fed back on that. I think to act in the way they did during such a traumatic experience, they contacted the emergency services. They were on their way, and at one point the individual obviously was unconscious. His heart stopped beating. They got the defib, administered the defib, resuscitated him, and the feedback from the hospital to the client was that the 2 officers gave the individual the best chance of possible survival, and I think that alone says enough about the incident. And I think I received a fantastic feedback email from the client, thanking them for their actions. We're going to nominate them for the Adepts awards. We need to agree a date to go up there and present to the individuals themselves as part of that process. But I think, I think to have such capable officers on a site where they're monitoring and working with the public on a daily basis, and for that client to have the confidence in the team to act in the way they did do was, it was immeasurable.
So they were with him for a while, though, weren't they?
Yeah, I think unfortunately, sometimes on occasions it takes quite a while for the ambulances to get there. And I think 20-25 minutes they were waiting whilst this ambulance attended.
So were they providing like CPR throughout that entire period?
Defib, resuscitation, everything possible to keep that individual going, basically.
Yeah. It's something that we all get, obviously, as an industry standard now. Everyone gets first aid training as part of their SAA licence. It's something you hope that you never have to use.
Absolutely.
But for the two guys, purely just to remain that calm in that, it's like a fight or flight incident, isn't it? For them to keep that calm and to deliver that level of focus and treatment.
Such a long time as well.
Absolutely. I mean, we sit and do a podcast and we listen back to it, and roughly they can be around 25-30 minutes. That's the length of time they were working on that individual. It's absolutely massive. Really, really, really proud of the guys. And I think one of the officers, I went down on the same night of the incident and was talking to one of the officers, and he actually raised the fact you said about the SI licensing, and we all know that the process has changed for licensing, and it includes first aid, and Mark had just completed his first aid.
Oh, yeah, timely.
And he raised the fact that it was a good job that I had done that, because obviously it helped me work with this individual. And I think I put a post on LinkedIn myself, not about the incident, but about the value of that training on the SIA licensing now. I think it's out there. It's with every officer, or will be, for customers, members of the public, clients, etc. It's a massive reassurance to have that level of training.
Absolutely, a great story. Really, really good story. Nick, you were busy. So, day recording today is 21st of Feb. Nick, you were out on the 19th, I believe, in Manchester presenting with the Greater Manchester Good Employment Charter.
Yesterday. It was 20th.
Yesterday?
Yeah, so
20th, sorry.
So we got asked to go along to one of their share and learn sessions based around secure work, because I think the journey that Adepts have gone on over the last 2 or 3 years has sort of put us in a position now where we can start having a bit of confidence in believing that we are
confidence in the product.
Yeah, a long way to go. There's a lot of things we want to do, but I think if you look at our accreditation for being a real living wage employer, so we're one of just a handful of people in the security and cleaning industry who actually pay a real living wage to all our staff. So we're not a recognised service provider. We don't attempt to do it, we do it. Everybody gets it, full stop. And then in November 2022, we became one of the first 10 companies actually to get the accreditation, and still to date, the only cleaning security company to be accredited as a real living hours employer. So effectively, it's around security of hours. So what it does is we guarantee a minimum of 16 hours to all our staff if they require that. Obviously, we do have some staff that work less than 16 hours because that fits their life. They only want to work 10 hours a week. It may fit around childcare or other jobs or things like that. But anyone who wants at least 16 hours can have 16 hours. And then additional to that is we actually monitor the contracts. So what you'll find, especially in the security industry, is you'll have security officers who work 60 hours a week, but the contract of employment is 40 hours a week. Whereas what we do is review it every 3 months. We go back over the last 12 weeks to see what people have been working, and we'll amend their contract in line with what they've been working as well. So what we're doing is we're giving security of work to staff. And going back to when in previous roles I've worked in, and even with Adepts, there were so many staff on 0 hours contracts, and what would happen is something would happen on site because we're dealing with people. There's always incidents, but instead of managing people, they just stop working them. And those individuals who have got bills to pay, they've got mortgages, they just have no work. Yeah, left to rot. And that's a phrase. I mean, you've probably heard the phrase yourself. Leave them to rot. Absolutely appalling. So what we did is we give security hours to all our staff. And yesterday was a bit of a good news story. So this is Adepts. This is what they've done over the last 2 years, and these are the stats. So the stats are really interesting. Our retention rate is higher now than it's ever been. So I think we're touching 96% now. Industry standards, if you combine security and cleaning, you're probably talking 70%. So
it's the biggest issue in the industry, isn't it? Recruitment,
it's challenging it, resourcing, having good people, but we don't tend to lose people, so it's absolutely massive for us. So we were there yesterday and presented back to like-minded employees.
Not just the security industry,
not
but
just
businesses.
We were the only security and cleaning industry there, but we had facilities managers, we had recruitment agencies, we had local authorities. There was a really good mix.
Manufacturers also.
There was a really good mix in the room.
Is that in conjunction with ACAS as well?
Yeah, so it was actually at ACAS's head office in Manchester, so they were there as part of the day as well. They've actually, on the back of it, they've asked me to attend another session on the 7th of March, I think it is. They want us to break off into groups, and for myself and Alan to chair a group. So we're going to get some more information about that from Alexia and see what we can do to support. But yeah, really, really interesting and a good opportunity to actually look at what we've achieved. I put a LinkedIn post out yesterday because as I was sat down reviewing it, a lot's happened in 2 years, and I think it's what we should be proud of, really.
I think more than what we think, to be honest.
I think when you actually sit back and take stock, you think, oh my God, we've actually achieved all that.
That journey's massive. And we've still got plans for the future as well.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, I were actually asked what we're doing about getting other security and cleaning companies to follow us on this journey, and I made a tongue-in-cheek sort of comment that I don't want them to because I want to be different. But actually, we are talking to other companies, and we're explaining to them the benefits we've seen from staff retention to
staff morale as well.
Staff morale, retention, staff engagement. I mean, 93% of people replied to the employee survey, which is I've never seen numbers that high.
You usually tend to get about 30-40%, don't you? If you're lucky.
I think the other aspect you said about that by being the only company, but we're the only company now. But we're setting the pace. We're making it different for the industry, and I think that's massively important.
That's something to be proud of as well.
Absolutely,
100%. 100%. So yeah, I'll apologise now for not attending that event. I know you did invite me. I didn't register in time, so my bad.
Yeah. Not acceptable. Next time, I'm going to get you on there.
Yeah, cool. And Nick, talk to me about the Down Syndrome Association.
Yeah, so it's something we've been working on since I started, really, going back over 2 years. So I've been speaking to a lady called Molly at the Down Syndrome Association with a view to identifying someone with Down syndrome who could potentially come and work for Adepts. And again, back and forth with Molly over the years, and some really good news is we've actually identified someone who's going to be joining the team. So he's a young lad. He's 19 years old. He's called Luke. He's coming in next Monday. Actually, we're taking him to number 1 Spinning Fields in Manchester. And Molly contacted me a couple of weeks ago. She said, I found someone who might be the right fit, because we wanted someone who was able to actually be part of the team and not just be a spare part, if you will. So to get involved and can communicate and can enjoy what they're doing.
Is that going to be on the front line?
It is. It's a non-licensable role. What we'll be doing is, so Luke will be joining us. He'll be working just every Monday, 4 hours on a Monday. Due to his condition, he's not able to work any longer than that, and he'll be working at number 1 Spinning Fields. So our client there, Form, have agreed that they were all over it. As soon as we told them, we said this is what we want to do. They couldn't have been more supportive. And it won't be till April till he starts. He's going for a taste today next week. But he'll be a meter and greeter, so he will be in the same uniform as the team at number 1 Spinning Fields, which, for those who don't know, is a very bespoke uniform. We shoot ourselves in the foot sometimes by giving bespoke uniform everywhere. But yeah, so he'll look as part of the team. We're gonna integrate him over the coming weeks. He's going to get to meet everybody just on a keep in touch sort of basis. And then from April, he will be from the hours of 10 a.m. till 2 p.m. every Monday. He'll be our meter and greeter at number 1 Spinning Field. So when occupiers and tenants go into work, he will be the first face they see, and I'm sure he will be a very, very popular member of the team.
And that'll be working with our previous guest, won't it?
He will be working with Paul, and I'm sure Paul will be listening to this podcast. Paul knows all about it, as do the rest of the team there. I wanted to make sure that we got their buy-in as well, and because there will be levels where they need to support him on things. But yeah, they were all, without hesitation, 100%, they all wanted to be involved in it and support it. So from April, people may see in between now and April, but from April, every single Monday, 10 till 2, Luke will be joining the team, and he sounds like a really interesting character as well, because he's at college at the minute. He's doing performing arts at college, which I think you need to be an outgoing person to do that in the first instance. I would hate it. I'd be awful. And he's also in a band as well, so who knows, perhaps he's on a future podcast he can come on and he can tell us about his band and tell us what he thinks about life at Adepts.
Oh, that'd be great. We'd love to have him on. So we've had some audits as well.
Some, you could say that. January was just audits. All
more prevalent, I suppose, for the security side of the business would be the ACS audit, where we've seen again an improvement year on year. So what's the maximum score that you can get?
145.
And what did we get last year?
So if you go back to the year before that, so if you go back to 2022, we got a score of 91.
So is this when you and Al had just initially joined?
This is my sort of first year at Adepts.
That's a pass score, isn't it?
It's a pass score, yeah. And then last year we had a big jump up, so we went to 124. So we had a best part of 30% increase. And then January just gone, so last month we got a score of 131, which effectively puts us in the top 5 and allows us, should we wish to go down that route, to be a pace setter within the industry.
So for those listening or watching who don't know what an SIA ACS audit would be, what does it entail? What are they looking at?
Absolutely everything. Okay. So it's, the ACS stands for Approved Contractor Scheme, and they're effectively pre-auditing us for various elements, and it's 4 days with us for 4 days, and they go through everything. So financial, operational, staff engagement,
policies,
best practices, policies,
site-based information,
absolutely everything. It's general compliance, and they're very, very thorough as well. And although there is an interview basis of it, whatever you say, it isn't relevant. It needs to be backed up. It needs to be evidenced. It needs to be witnessed. And it's a tough process to go through. I think any audit is a tough process to go through. But all the team were involved. I mean, you two guys know yourself.
Well, I was on with the site visits. Yeah, they went to Sheffield.
Yeah. So you were supporting as well. And obviously the back end is really positive. And I think I never want to be one of those companies that are chasing a score. So you see some companies announcing the score. We won't even announce the actual score that we got on LinkedIn. So this is mainly for our staff that are listening. But we already know, standing still on what we've achieved this year, that we'll get 3 additional points. So that going up to 134 out of 145. There's probably not much more we can physically do.
Is that infrastructure-wise that we have?
Yeah.
We just don't have the facility to get to that next.
Exactly. And who knows further down the line? And Adept is changing drastically.
Will the podcast get us any more bonus points?
Good communication. Communication is a good point. But yeah, it's. I mean, we got a. I'm trying to think of the actual wording, but we got like a good practice based around the culture committee, which we spoke about on one of the last episodes. So there's a lot of good things happening at Adept that we don't necessarily shout out about, but when people actually look at it and scratch under the surface and they see it, they start telling us we should be shouting out a lot more about it. So yeah, it was really good, really positive. And then the other audit was the ISO audit, which was a 6-day audit. Again, really thorough, really in depth, no issues whatsoever. Sort of sailed through that.
Yeah. Is that more about like good compliance and systems and process and stuff like that? We won't bore the audience with too much of those details. I suppose recently as well, through February, the operations team have been Very, very busy. Lots of unplanned mobilisations of new business, which I'd quite like to touch on briefly. So one of our, I suppose, competitors, a company called First Choice Facilities. Were liquidated, I believe, on a Friday, early February, and then we took a number of calls from clients, basically wanting us to mobilise contracts straight away. I mean, Al, me and you kind of faced that at the coalface really with the operators as well. There were some big challenges for us, weren't there? I mean, you're talking of onboarding staff, getting equipment, and I suppose one of the biggest issues that the staff incoming were facing were they didn't know, a lot of them didn't even know it had happened.
No.
So I know that I went to a site in Leeds, introduced myself, and I'm just met with a blank look of, right, that's great, what are you doing here?
Yeah.
And this happened around about the time that those staff were due to be paid as well. So, you know, traditionally the first payday after Christmas, is always a long drawn out one. And these staff came into work on their expected payday to an empty bank balance and no payments. So one thing that we've done for a number of those staff is we've propped them up with bridging loans for the time being, while they're going through the claim with the government to claim back the wages, because the company that was liquidated haven't paid them. So that's where they have to go through. But just a bit of a shout out really to the operations team, to Mike, to Chelsea, to Geordie. They've done some, and to Betty as well, in onboarding the staff and Louise and getting the contract set up on the system. A lot of work, what we'd normally space out probably over the course of about a month,
At least, yeah.
crammed into the space of a couple of days. It was a big effort.
I think it were all hands on deck, wasn't it? And yeah, the 2P process sort of HR were uncomfortable to a certain extent. We had to really streamline the process.
Well, we had no one to go to get the information from.
No.
Yeah.
So normally in a 2P process, you back and forth with the current supplier. They give you all the information. You go then cross-reference that with the staff, and check it from that. But where we were kind of led blind and led by the staff, so it was them telling us, these are my details. This is when I started. These are my contractual terms and conditions. Blah blah blah. So it was a bit of a unique one, really. That's only the second time that's ever really happened to me in my time in the industry. But yeah, just a big shout out to everyone in the team for getting that that done as quickly as what they did. It was a really good effort.
I think it's a good, it's testament of a good team when they can pull together like that. And like yourself, I've been in the industry for a long time, and I think we've had it twice since Christmas with First Choice and another contract, and to have that turnaround in such a short space of time is fantastic.
The big one for me is all those staff not getting paid.
Yeah, absolutely.
And we've took a risk on ourselves. So we've effectively said to these staff, look, we don't want you to be without. So we'll effectively, I know you said it's a bridging loan, but we give them the money for January, and they will hopefully get that money back through the government. But effectively, if they don't get the money back, we're not going to get it back. But at the same time, we can't be shouting out that we're a people first business and then allowing people not to be able to pay the bills or put food on the table, because the majority of people sort of live sort of
month to month. Yeah.
And if you don't get, it doesn't matter what your salary is, if you don't get your pay for 1 month, I'm sure all your outgoings don't stop.
No,
so you can't phone up and say, I ain't got any money, I'm not paying you. Yeah. So I think it would be good that we.
And good as well that so many people reach out to us to be the supplier. It's not as if they had the time to go through a tender process. They almost had to think, who's a company that we can trust? Adepts.
Definitely.
And don't get me wrong, we haven't picked everything up at First Choices, but we've picked a decent amount. We've picked up a good amount. And the NACOA event that was
NACOA. I missed. It's another event that I missed. So NACOA, I think I touched on it briefly in episode 1. Is the National Association of Children of Alcoholics. Something really close to my heart. For those who don't know, I sort of lost my dad from, I think I was 22, so he was 59. Problem with alcoholism. He drank himself into an early grave, basically. So he died of cirrhosis of the liver. And when I saw, it was Jess who is the sales manager at Hotel Football. So she put a post on LinkedIn 12 months ago, and as soon as I saw it, it just sort of resonated. So I reached out to her and said, look, I'd love to support. So on the back of it, I spoke to the team at Adepts. Tough Mudder last year was for NACOA, so we raised. I'm trying to think of the end total. We made a donation as well. I think £3,500, something like that. And then it was the annual gala last Saturday, which Alan, I've seen you and Betty on is it a turntable or something? The pictures going around.
I don't want to publicise that one because I was just stood there like that. I didn't know what to do. But.
So were you meant to move at the same time?
Apparently, you sort of meant to dance around.
So where you stand on something and the camera goes round you?
Yeah, exactly that.
You just stood there.
I was just like, I had my tuxedo on, bow tie on, sort of James Bond look, but there you go, it didn't work out. So, no, I mean, and that event in itself, I think they had a number of people who supported it, and people that have been through those issues, and they were telling the story, and it was heart-wrenching. It really was how it affected them as a child, as growing up. And I witnessed that with myself, a friend of mine whose father was very much an alcoholic, and he died at a young age as well. But the stories that these people were telling, and all the colleagues I attended with, it was Chelsea there, Geordie, Betty, Mike, they have tears in their eyes because it was heartwarming. It really was sort of difficult to listen to, and I think there was a lot of money raised on the night. I don't think we've got an ultimate figure, but I'm sure we can update at a later date. But it was a good event, well run, and I like to think that we played our part in helping raising more awareness and more money.
Well,
were we a sponsor for that?
Yes, we were one of the sponsors. I have said to Jess that I'd meet up with her over the next month or two to see what else we can do to support, because the gala will be around again in 12 months' time.
But what happens in between?
Of course. But we've got loads of events we've got planned where we haven't sort of linked any of our nominated charities to yet. So I think it's worthwhile sitting down with Jess. I know she's doing a walk in March. I think it's down south somewhere. Yeah. And I know it's quite a distance away. But I said I'd try and attend that if I could do. So we're gonna have a look at it.
Very good. Very good. So in terms of like a bit of a company update overview, that's pretty much all we had to go through. So we've got some questions again from our colleagues. So I'll run through these. We've got 5 to run through today, guys. So sit back and have a listen to these. So the first one comes from John down at Leeds Docks, and he has said, I see a lot of security companies are changing the way they call their security officers and calling them customer service officers so they can be more approachable to customers and clients. Does Adept plan on any of these changes?
I don't think it's something that we've actively sat down and considered. I think the debate for years and years has always been security guard, security officer, and I hate the terminology security guard. It just drives me crazy. Yes. So we call all our security officers. What's his suggestion? Customer care officer, did he say?
Customer service officer.
Customer service officer. Because I remember the job centre security contract going back. I think it was Split Securitas and G4S. They called all the staff customer care officers, didn't they?
CCOs.
For that reason, exactly. I don't know. It's not something I've really. What's your opinion?
For me, it's about the training. So I mean, it's not just about calling them in somebody else. Okay, it softens the approach, but
do you think
it's about customer care training?
Yeah. So. Do you think that's something I suppose as an industry we could look at? We constantly talk about recruitment being a big challenge. Does the term security in there put people off and immediately think low paid, low skilled, no thank you? And if it was
it's a tough one. I think ultimately it's the security industry, isn't it? I mean, we have quite a few sites, sort of commercial buildings front of house, where we call the security officer concierge because they have a slightly different job role where they're a meet and greeter and there's those kind of elements. I think there's some roles where the word security needs to be in there so that people understand it's a security function.
Yeah.
I don't think it's a one size fits all. I would scrap security guard because I really, the word guard, I really don't like it.
It's very, very antiquated. Reminds me of the really old-fashioned security guards.
Night watchman,
brazier, and all that sort of stuff. So
what was the company called years ago with a brown remember Sabre Watch? I don't think they exist anymore. But they used to have like a brown uniform, and they all used to wear caps as well, and they had security guard.
Well, I mean, telling me age now, but when I'm going back to my very, very early career with Group 4, it wasn't them days, they had like a sister company called Euroguard, and that's what they were. So.
Yeah, I mean, we're going after John's question there, but I don't like the name guard. I mean, I'm sure for certain locations it fits. I don't like the cap. I think it's very, very old-fashioned.
I think you're right. You know, it is bespoke to that location. Sometimes it has to have security in there. And if you know, for example, if I'm sort of like doing a tender, putting a tender together, then I might change it to customer support officer because it's more akin, or concierge because it's a more rounded role. So
I think not a one size fits all, John. We don't like security guard, but then there's no initial plan. I mean, so John works is it John at Leeds Dock?
Yeah.
So the role that we have at Leeds Dock is very customer focused. So I can understand where he's coming from in his role as like the security manager there. So it probably makes sense for Leeds Dock rather than security officer.
Interesting. Scott's got in touch to ask, I'd like to know where you see Adepts in 2 to 3 years' time regarding growth. Whether that be for the Northwest, for Yorkshire, or for national growth.
Yeah, I think growth-wise, so Adept are a lot of companies say they're national when they're not national. So we cannot, as a business, deliver every single location nationally. However, if you went down to the southernmost part of the country and started heading up, there's a lot of locations that we do. So we're around the southwest, we're around London.
I was going to say Alan's mileage has been clocking up a bit, hasn't it, recently?
We're over in East Anglia, we're in the Midlands, we're in the Northeast, we're all over the Northwest. So we do have a decent footprint nationwide, albeit if you ask us to cover something on the north point of Scotland, we're going to say no. Yeah, it's not going to happen. So I think that will continue. The geographical growth will certainly continue. Regarding sort of the business size, we've grown significantly over the last 2.5 years, over 50% already. I don't think it's about putting a number on it or about how big we want to be. I think it's growing with the right customers. So it's people who value the service. Yeah. It's people who value people as well, because we pay our staff a real living wage. And a lot of clients, if you say this is the real living wage, this is how much it's going to cost you, Mr. Client, a lot of them are not willing, because they don't value the service, they're not willing to pay that amount. So we have a very sort of clear strategy that we will only work with people who value people and service. So if we stay, we're a business, we want to grow, of course, but if we stay this size and deliver to the customers we've currently got, great. If we can get more like-minded clients who share our values, then the world's sort of heading to, so whatever we can get to.
Very good. Paul Howard has asked, what are the goals for Adepts for 2024 and how are you going to achieve them? You kind of touched upon that, really, haven't you?
Yeah, and I think so. Tonight is actually the next meeting of the culture committee, which Paul sits on. And actually, he's going to be throwing that question back at him tonight, because we're going to be asking the culture committee what the goals and objectives are for them for this year.
Yeah, I think when you ask that question, it's very much, a lot of people just immediately go sales, grow. But there's a lot more that we're doing behind the scenes.
Absolutely.
No, I mean, we want to, Luke, who I mentioned earlier, so a goal and an objective for us is to have Luke happy in the workplace and comfortable in the role he's doing. And another goal, albeit not for this year, is to look at real living pensions, where the business contributes 15% and the employee contributes 10%. We couldn't financially afford to do it today, but it's something that we've got. I think it's on our year 4 of the 5-year plan to see if it's possible to get to that mark. We've recently opened a new office in Manchester. A goal is to have a new larger office in Yorkshire. We are in the process now of rolling out a new fleet. So I think we've got 5 vehicles that will be delivered within the next 2 weeks. So again, it's a change from diesel to hybrid and electric. So again, that's a goal and objective for this year. So there's lots that we are underway at, aside from growth, profit, revenue, and all the general stuff people would discuss.
Well, that kind of stole my thunder for the next question, really, because Mike wanted to know when is Nick getting his hand in his pocket and buying new fleet vehicles.
Right. Okay. Yeah. So they've been ordered. So I take it Mike doesn't like the Seat any longer, which is fair enough. He will get to have his hands on a new fleet within 2 weeks. I actually think it'll be next week, but very soon.
Very good. So by end of Feb, hopefully.
21st.
21st
Trying to think of the date. It's 21st. Yeah. So by the end of February.
Very good. Watch this space. And finally, Nicola in Hartlepool has asked, I'd like to know what your death row meal would be. It's a bit of a light-hearted end to the episode.
So go on. What's a death row meal?
So you've been sentenced to death, and it's the last meal that you have on this earth before you are put to death.
Right. I have to think. Do you know yours, Alan?
I personally, a mixed grill.
Mixed grill?
Yeah.
Yes.
Quality.
Just straight into the mixed grill, no starters.
Absolutely. Well, I'd say prawn cocktail starter. And funny enough, I had this conversation with Jenny the other day, my wife, and she makes a fantastic prawn cocktail for Christmas. And I don't think that anybody else could replicate that.
You have to bring one in for us next time.
Yeah. Well, yeah, by all means. Yeah.
So a prawn cocktail, mixed grill, pudding.
Something like sticky toffee pudding.
Safe, decent, I like that.
And what's yours?
It'd have to be meat based. Can I bring Fazenda in? Can I pick it? Yeah, I can.
I think if
Is
you're
that for
behind
advertising?
boys, if you're behind boys.
If they want to sponsor the podcast.
Well, there you go, yeah.
It's your meal, you can have whatever you want, can't you?
Yeah, so there's an Italian that me and Shuri go to in Huddersfield called the Sandro's, and they do a starter. It's got a sweet chili sauce, slices of chorizo, and then there's a couple of slices of black pudding on top of a slice of goat's cheese, which is just incredible. So I'd have that to start. Big plate of meat, they'd be fine. Fazenda style. Just straight off the joint, and I like a sticky toffee as well. Aldi do a really good one.
Do they?
Yeah, the specialty ones. I'd probably go for that.
I wouldn't be that. Mine'd be a sandwich. So
Really?
I'd literally get.
You don't eat bread. You're on a fad
I
diet.
know, but
You're on a fad diet. You don't even eat bread.
If I'm on death row, I can eat what I want.
Oh, yeah.
So I'd have something like I'd get a tiger baguette with steak, blue cheese and rocket.
Blue cheese?
Yeah, I love blue cheese. The stinkier the better. Or there's a pizza place in Burnley called Enzo's.
I thought you lived in Blackburn.
So I do not live in Blackburn, which is it's the greatest pizza. And if anyone disagrees with me, they're just wrong. It's the greatest pizza ever. So I'd get an Enzo's special, which has got egg on it, which is unbelievable.
Egg on a pizza's nice.
Yeah, egg, onion, spicy beef, ham, and green peppers. It's good.
Yeah, there's a Pizza Express around the corner that do egg on a pizza.
We'll nip in after this.
Yeah. Right. Anything else for you guys at all that you want to cover while we're here?
No,
I can't think of it.
nothing for us.
Cool. Right. Well, we'll wrap up there. Big thank you again to everyone who has been listening to the first few podcasts and continue to listen to this one. Like we say, head over to the YouTube channel. We'll pop a link to that in the description of this podcast. Give that a follow, give us a subscribe, and we'll see you next time.